Welcome back in, y'all. We are Black Girls Talking TV, where we bring the group chat to life and discuss all your favorite TV shows. Today is all about episode 3, 4, and 5 of the final season of You, season 5. We already have a recap of episodes 1 and 2, and also a full recap of seasons 1 through 4 on our YouTube, so definitely check those out. I'm Victoria. I am a psychologist out of New York and Illinois.
And I'm Kamaria. I'm an attorney in the DC area and a pop culture writer. So let's get into it. Before we go, we're going to discuss storyline by storyline. So, we're going to discuss the twins and Joe and that whole situation. We're going to discuss Kate and Joe and their dynamic. And then we're going to discuss Bronte, her friends, and Joe. And so, any opening comments that you have before we jump into these buckets?
Ending the episodes, watching it on episode 5, I was just like, baby, when is
Yeah.
it going to end? Okay, like, I literally was like, alive? The friend? Like, what?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. That was a big shock. That was a big shock. And I don't think he's never been exposed like that. So we'll get into that when we get to there, but that's a good opening comment because I feel like everybody who gets to episode 5 is like, what is happening? Like, this is new territory. He's never been exposed in this way before. And he looks absolutely crazy. Like, he
Yes.
looks like he's like, oh, his face is just even like bugged out. So yeah, that I don't know how he's going to get into it. So when we stopped at episode 5, so we have not seen 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're really we want to keep it pure, keep our conversation pure. But for me, the thing I want to say before we get into everything is Bronte. I told you, I was like, something about this girl is not right. Like,
Yes.
it's like her. I believed it in the beginning, but at a certain point, it starts to get like, why am I believing it? But just because she said so, like she said she's a person breaking in because she loves books, you know, I don't know. But, we see she's like some type of sort of either citizen detective or something. I don't know what they're
Yeah,
doing,
yeah,
but
yeah.
whew, it's a lot. So let's start where we left off with the twins and Joe realizing that the wrong twin is in the cage. We get into this little power struggle between him and Maddie for information on Reagan. That's what he's like, you can get out. I don't know why he would let her out, but I guess it's like he just has to at a certain point. He can't just kidnap everybody.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I
Like
was
he's gonna
scared for him at that point. I was like, how do you make a mistake like that? And I think I didn't even
Mhm.
realize that they were, I don't know how I missed that, but I didn't realize that they were twins. I don't know if it's because their characters were so different,
You
like
thought
who
these
they were.
girls was two different people.
I did, honey. I did. That's why I said hats off to the actress, baby, because she is doing her thug thizzle. Like, for real. I did
So
not
funny.
realize until that moment at the end of episode 2 that that was the
Yeah.
same dog
Oh my
person.
god.
I felt fooled.
That's so funny. That is so funny. But she is doing a good job. She is doing a good job. We're not talking about sinners right now, but right, they do that same thing with Michael B. Jordan. He's
Yeah.
plays twins,
Playing
same
both
person.
characters, yeah.
Yes, yes, and he does a good job as well. But yeah, she's killing it as Maddie. And then at some point they don't tell us how, but Reagan finds out that they're having this, because he gets caught in
He
the
was locked in
closet.
the closet, yeah.
I guess it's just she puts two and two together, or maybe she reviews the security footage or something. I have no clue how she
Yeah.
probably just puts two and two together. But she does this thing where she comes out as Maddie on Instagram and admits to the affair, and she gives her votes on the board to Reagan, and then Kate finds out. She kind of confirms it with Reagan, and then she tells Joe, and I'm gonna pause there so we could chit chat about anything in there. Anything in there that you wanted to chat about before we get into Joe finding out and telling Maddie, because that moves into a whole different direction with the plot.
Yeah, I did think that at that point I was like, Reagan is oh, she's like crazy, crazy because you went online as your sister to get more power
Yeah.
in the company. And I think it's crazy how during the scene of the affair, like, you almost think that Reagan has like this twisted desire to be
Oh
Kate,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like going into her office to want to have sex and things like that. So you it kind of plays on this idea that Reagan is jealous of Kate, which is clear that she is. And so then to find out that it was the sister, and then she does this little flip of the switch and
Mhm.
makes everyone believe that Maddie is sorry. Maddie feels like
Mhm.
she's a home wrecker, and I don't know what she called, like a slut,
Mhm.
cunt, all of these things online.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone go online and talk about themselves that way?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting, and I also wanted to say too, like, I am surprised that Kate didn't feel like that wasn't
Maddie.
Maddie. I mean
Mhm.
yeah, that wasn't Maddie. I was like, why would she think her sister would do this? You know?
I mean, I don't know. It's probably just like their whole dynamic. They're kind of a kooky, effed up family, and so she probably was just like, "Oh my god, another crazy thing pops out of our family chest." Like,
Yeah,
well, I don't know. But then they also talk about how everybody felt like Reagan being Maddie was easy, but like Maddie being Reagan, nobody believed like that was Maddie's impression. I also, from that scene, was just like, Reagan just don't give a fuck. Like she don't
yeah,
care. Like she is like ruthless. Like the
yeah.
stuff dealing with Kate, even though that's like supposedly they're painting her out to be this monster, but the stuff is true. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all did do these things, and she maybe is using them as an opportunist to take you down, but she's not wrong for that because you did do those things. But
Right,
this thing, Maddie, I mean, I guess Maddie did cheat, but it's like also it's just like you're impersonating Maddie though. You know what I mean? You're impersonating
right.
her and letting that story be out there as if she said it, and that's kind of wrong. But it is what it is. Uh, look.
No, for
So,
real, for real. Okay, and so then after that, right, we're at the point where Joe comes back to the cage and tells Maddie, your sister knows about the affair, and Maddie gets like shitless scared.
mhm,
Which I was a little surprised by that as well. I was thinking like it's out in the bag, so like it is what it
mhm,
is. But
mhm,
that's when we reveal that like no, Reagan is very cutthroat, right? Like she's gonna
mhm,
even come for her twin. So
mhm,
Maddie is feeling like my life is over, the baby's life is over, Harrison's life is over. Like this is the worst thing that ever happens.
yeah,
And Joe, seeing that Reagan was okay with playing Maddie, he gets this idea of, oh, okay, well let me go ahead and get Reagan up in here and have Maddie play Reagan, and let's see what we
yeah,
can get out of this type of situation. So that's like the next big shift in the storyline with
mhm.
Joe and the twins. Anything that you were thinking through those scenes?
It surprised me that Maddie was so like I was like, "What, girl? I was believing your ruse. I was believing
Yeah,
it. You were not scared, and so that surprised me. And also the piece about Harrison, I think, gets nothing in the prenup or something like that, and so he would be ruined. And so it starts to create this, to me, a great incentive for her to take Joe up on this offer because it's like you get to live your life, you get to be with the one you want to be with, yada yada yada. But it seems like she's just scared shitless to do this.
yeah.
So I was surprised by that.
Yeah, she also revealed that she carried Reagan's baby. I
Hmm.
thought that was very interesting,
Hmm.
especially considering she had, what was it, like pelvic issues or something?
Oh yeah, and she was like, they that could have killed me, da 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 da, da, like a
Yeah.
broken pelvic bone. I don't know what that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but through all of that information, right? Like Joe kind of uses it as like she's a cold-hearted bitch to you. So,
Hmm.
once he has Reagan in the cage, he brings the insulin shots. Maddie's like, it's not time yet. He's like, I know, it ain't for you. It's for your sister. You're going to kill her. And if you
Hmm.
don't, when she wakes up, I'm going to offer her the same. You see
Hmm.
that Maddie is definitely like, she's just all discombobbled up by this idea that she has to kill her sister. But once Reagan wakes up, Reagan is in like true Reagan fashion, calling her all types of names. telling her that, if she was at risk during the pregnancy where she was carrying her child, it wouldn't matter. Like she would have
Mhm.
chose the baby over her, right? And does all
Mhm.
of these things that confirms what Joe says in terms
Yeah.
of why it should be easy to take Reagan out for Maddie.
Yeah, and I will say that like Joe getting Reagan, first of all, was a little bit much. That man, he could
Yeah,
Reagan
yeah,
was about
yeah.
to take
Let's
him
go
out.
back real quick. Let's go
Yeah,
back real
Reagan was gonna take
quick.
him out. Like she
Bro,
was gonna take
I
him
was
out.
scared for Joe. I said, dog, oh, baby, you was not prepared for somebody who could fight
No.
back.
It's like they're putting it in there because even throughout episode 5 and stuff like that, when he's in Bronte's storyline and breaking into Clay's apartment, like he keeps tripping over stuff. It's like they're trying to age him, I guess, and he's just
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
fit as he used to be, I guess. But I'm like, it's been like 5 or 6 years. But they say when you get into the 30s, like stuff just you know just stop happening the way it's supposed to
Right,
happen. And
right.
so he's just, I guess, seeing that, and she's, I guess, takes Pilates and does whatever she does, Reagan. But yeah, she was out to get the best of that man, and
Yeah.
but once she got in the cage, like I thought it was a really good idea for Joe to say like, you got to kill her because she got to have some teeth in the game because that's the only way you let her out. It's like we all go down, like
Yeah.
how I'm gonna let you out, like, and just hope that you don't say anything. Like we
Yeah,
all
well,
go
he
down.
said that. He said, like, a guilty person doesn't go to authorities. So,
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was like it had to be done that way. I hate saying that, but it has
yeah.
to be done that way. It under his logic.
Yeah.
But I thought it was also very risky. I'm like, you got to sit there and watch them do that because I felt like they could trade places. I'm still like,
right.
yeah, I was like, they could trade places, or or she could have killed her. Like, she could have killed Maddie and then pretended to be Maddie, pretending to be Reagan. Like, but it's Reagan
Yeah.
the whole time. But I do think that based on where we go and for the rest of this drop, I think she is Maddie.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
of some of the issues she's having. But initially, I was like, bruh, like you leaving them in here to their own devices. Like you need to put a tattoo on one of them or something. Like you need to
Right,
know.
right. Well, I was thinking too, like, he has the camera, so he would have been able to see if they switch clothes or
Oh,
whatever. But at the
true.
same time, I was like, Joe is not as sharp. He's not thinking about all of
Mm,
these different things that can go wrong like he used to. He's being very
mm,
impulsive about the way he's doing stuff
mm,
nowadays. And
mm.
so I was like, I literally wrote, "Is this really Maddie? Like, are we 100% sure?" Like, I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay, the necklace, is it the same?" I was going back like, ooh, like
I
down to the
wasn't
little
sure.
details. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought the same. Like, this could definitely still be Reagan, and we already know she can play Maddie.
I
So
know. Yeah, like the only thing that made me feel like it was Maddie is when she's not in the presence of Joe, she's still like with the daughter and the
yeah,
husband, she's still like slipping up. And then with Kate, she's like, has this little breakdown. So it feels like she is Maddie,
yeah,
but I have no clue, to be honest. I have no clue. There's like 5% of me that's kind of like, is it Reagan? So I
right,
don't
right,
know.
right.
But
Them
yeah,
little
that was,
switch up moments though, when she do it, be excellent. Like when she was with the husband and the
oh
kid, and
yeah.
was like, "I'm so
Mhm.
sorry that you guys are thin skinned
Yeah.
little whatever." I was like, "Dog,
Months, I
oh
think it's what
girl."
a little bit. Right.
So after Maddie kills Reagan, she goes on to play Reagan in real life. She's showing up at board meetings as Reagan in real life. She has that moment where she quits the board position, um, and she also votes for the half brother. What's his name?
Teddy.
Okay, yeah, she votes for Teddy to get on the board, and she also
Mhm.
gives up the votes that Reagan pretended to be Maddie to get. Maddie is now pretending to be Reagan to get back. And
Yeah.
she's reinstating Maddie's position on the board. So yeah, all of
Mhm.
this is going on, and it also just leaves Kate to just be even more suspicious. Um, Kate is constantly now texting Reagan like, "What happened? What happened? What happened? Like, what influence did Joe have in this decision?
Mhm.
Something just doesn't feel right." Kate never
Mhm.
gets a response from Reagan, so Kate shows up at Reagan's house. It is Maddie. Kate's like, "Hey, Maddie, like, why are you
Mhm.
here?" She's like, "I'm taking care of my twin." She's like, "I need to see her."
Mhm.
And so Maddie knows that she has to stick to this part, And so she goes, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'll let her know that you're here. She runs upstairs into the bathroom, and Maddie tries her best to do this whole switching back and forth, having a conversation between Maddie
Mm,
as herself and Reagan, which just completely leaves her on the floor in tears.
yeah,
And Kate busts in
breakdown.
and is like,
Yeah.
yes. Kate busts in and she's like, where is Maddie? There's no Maddie to
Hmm.
be found. And that is when that is when Maddie reveals to Kate what the plan was and the fact that Reagan is dead
Yeah,
because
and
she
then
killed
Joe's
her.
involvement. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah. And also, so we'll get to this as we're going to transition into Kate and Joe's storyline because it kind of blurs, but like before that board meeting, Kate was about to resign. And so that really
Yeah.
kind of saved her from doing that. And we'll get into Kate and Joe and how that came about in just a second. But yeah, as a whole, I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. I was just like, this is a lot, but that is the best way to neatly tie up that story, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting because out of the entire family, like all the siblings, Maddie and Teddy, they have the best moral compass.
Mhm.
And the breakdown for Maddie, right, in that bathroom when she was like, but it can be a great thing. Like, you don't have to quit. The kid, Henry will be okay. Joe will be okay. Harrison will be okay. Like all these great things come out of Reagan being dead. You kind of see that Joe's really got into her head, and Kate
Mhm.
had like so much empathy for Maddie in that moment. You can tell because she's just like, he really got to you. Like he made
Mhm.
you feel like this was the only way.
All right, so we'll transition now into Kate and Joe's little dynamic as we kind of open up the episode. Kate and Joe, they continue to disagree about how to deal with Reagan. So like we're rewinding. Reagan is still free. The wrong twin is in the cage. But they're kind of each doing their own independent plans. Like they're not telling each other, and they're like Teddy is sort of looped in a little bit on both the fact that both of them are doing independent things, but not fully looped into the full extent of what each is doing. But he knows
Right.
that they're just both kind of like not telling each other certain things. And then Kate finds out that, in her own little thing, that Reagan has been embezzling money from the company. And so she's like, boom, I did it. I got it. We about to be free from this woman. So she confronts her. And Reagan's like, oh, poor you. Did you really think that Reagan got her own shit? She knows about Reese. And so, like, that's the thing I think we talked about in the last episode how Bob got the information from somewhere. So, like, who else may know? And so apparently she knows about it. She knows about the framing of the university student. And so she's kind of just like, you bury me and I'm going to dig a 10-foot grave. You're going to be under the ground. And so that's what leads Kate into this feeling that she has no choice but to resign. And so that's kind of the crossover between the twins storyline and Kate's storyline, where she just feels like she has no choice and she's trying to like not move into this space that Joe is in where he's like, gotta kill him. She's trying to
Yeah.
stay out of that space, and so she feels like she just has to like resign, which when you think about it, I mean, they all could have done these things. You know what I'm saying? Like at the
Yeah.
beginning, folks were like, resign or we're putting this information out. Like they just didn't want to lose their life, like what they knew it as, you know? It
Yeah.
wasn't that they were going to be finished. Like, granted, they could have still come out with the story even though they resigned. She could have resigned and then Bob could have been like, still telling everybody about it, but it seemed like his goal was not that I care that you killed somebody. It's that I care about this board seat. And so they could have done that. And just, the only thing they would have lost is their job and their kind of like livelihood. But like they are rich and they could have just transitioned into a different type of life.
Yeah, I think it is a really great play on just how, like, in society, right? Like, you don't become a billionaire by not doing really bad things most of the time, right?
Oh.
I mean, we just don't see it often. Like, you see these people with all of this money, like, at some point, there's like these
Mhm.
large cases against them for
Mhm.
something. Like all of these things end up coming out later
Mhm.
on down the line. And so I think that's what they're kind of playing on, right? Like in order to keep this power, they have to continue to do bad things, right? And like Kate comes in as this juxtaposition to it and says like,
Mhm.
you know, like there's ways to be good and still run a company and still do all
Mhm.
these great things through your company. Like it doesn't have to be like this. It reminds me of it's a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it.
Mhm.
And there was some old CEOs of like Adidas and all these other companies and like engineers from like Amazon and all these things, and they were just saying how like they were with the company for so long, and over time as it they continued to grow and expand, the things that they were doing, whether it was to the economy, whether it was to these other countries in terms of like dumping and waste, it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And so
Mhm.
the only way out was to quit.
I
And I
see
think
that.
now they're all like outside of their what is it called? Their
Initial position.
non-disclosures.
So they
Yeah, yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so they're
okay.
talking. Right, right, right. Yeah,
Mhm.
but very interesting. And so I think that's kind of what this is trying to play on, this idea that these people in these
Mhm.
very high places, in order to stay here, they doing what they got to do to keep people quiet and to keep their power.
I think that the tension that they were experiencing as a couple kind of speaks for itself. Like,
Yeah.
this is a good versus bad sort of, not that Kate's good, but like good versus bad ideology is what
Yeah.
they're kind of battling.
Yeah. I did think that Kate was going to flip. Like when she was like, Joe was right. You are going to stop at nothing. When
Yeah,
she was
yeah,
talking to Reagan, I thought she
yeah.
was going to flip and say, okay, like I really got to get rid of Reagan now. But it was a
Reagan.
nice change to see like, no, she's actually really trying. So she's just going to
Mhm.
give up her seat, point blank, period.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it's like it's what I was trying to say when I first started talking about this, is that like it's just your job. It's just this. I know it seems like it's your life. If it was prison or like somebody telling everybody regardless, like there's nothing you can do, like they're gonna tell
Mhm.
regardless, then I could see them getting to that level. I mean, not I can see it, again, this is, I do not condone this
Yeah.
behavior, but I see the logic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Under their framework, I can see the logic of that. But I guess it's like they don't want to be someone's bitch, like, and like potentially have that hung over their heads forever.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like the more dirt you do, the more dirt you have to do to cover up the dirt you keep doing. So
Right.
like you're the your own prisoner and you're hanging it over your own head because you keep doing it. And it's just like at the end of the day, it's like you just gotta, it's like when people drive on the highway sometimes and they try to get to their exit, they like, they will cause an accident to get to the exit, and sometimes you just gotta miss the exit, and you just gotta be
Yeah.
like, it's okay. And so I view that as this, like, sometimes it's like, yeah, you want to have your perfect like life and get over there, but you're about to cause so much havoc, and so you need to just let it go.
Yeah.
Miss the exit. Y'all not gonna have this job. You're gonna have to resign, start a new life, be quiet, be a beekeeper in a little town in Scotland, and just like live your life quietly. Be with Henry, have a family. They
Yeah.
causing
Well,
it.
she did offer that to Joe. She did say we can move out the country, we can go somewhere
Yeah,
else. And his whole thing was like, no, Henry needs stability, but it's like we can leave all of this and still be fine. And Joe
yeah.
just didn't want it. So his what he thought was protection of Henry was just causing more and more destruction.
Yeah, because
Um,
halfway it's, I think he don't want to leave this whole Bronte thing, but we'll
Right.
get
He
to that.
also don't want to. Yeah. Right. Right.
But
Right. He also don't want
yes,
to
he
leave
want his
Bronte,
cake and
honey.
eat it too.
Yeah. Yeah. So after all of this, when Kate felt like she had no choice to resign, Teddy grows a little bit more suspicion, and he's just like, "What's going on? What is it that you keep trying to cover up and hide? Because at this point, none of this is making sense. If you leave, I have no connection to any of this anymore. So I need you
Mhm.
to stay." Kate still refuses to reveal everything that's going on. Um, and so it kind of leaves off there. She's just like, it is what it is. Like I have no choice. And so as this is happening, Joe is growing more frustration with Kate because in Joe's eyes, Kate is not understanding that everything that he's trying to do is to protect her and Henry. And on the other hand, Kate is like, I'm not doing it your way. And so as this is happening, Joe is growing closer to Bronte because he feels like Bronte is someone that understands him, especially after she reads his writing and she's like, he's like, she sees me for who I
Mm-hmm.
am. She understands that I have this dark side and she accepts it. And
Mm-hmm.
Kate just keeps pulling me away and not having me involved in the decision making. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, as Kate is growing more suspicion, Kate calls her PI to look into Joe again because she's just like something is just not adding up here. I'm trying to give this man to her credit. She is trying to give him, trying to give him the chance to show that he's trying to change and he wants to do good. And she starts to realize like she ignored a lot of red flags, so she wants to dig into his past and figure everything out. Through digging into the past, she pretty much realizes that Joe is the one who killed Quinn. Joe also has killed other people.
Or
There's
she
this
gets
woman.
suspicious of it. Does she confirm it or does she get suspicious?
I think it's overall that she has suspicion. Yeah, I would say
Okay.
suspicion, right? Yeah. So she has more suspicion that he killed Quinn, that this girl Marianne is missing, who he was once dating, right? Beck is also dead, who's somebody that he dated, right? Like all these women that end up around Joe, some reason either end up
Mm-hmm.
dead or missing. And so she goes ahead. She goes back to Teddy and she tells Teddy everything. And
Mm-hmm.
she says in this conversation, like, I was so worried about not becoming my father, I married him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I thought that was interesting because I was like, them daddy issues, child, they be popping up.
Mm-hmm.
The same
Mm-hmm.
women always marry their fathers.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so any interesting thoughts that you had or suspicions you had at this point, based on these conversations?
Yes. Yes. I found it interesting, like Joe's pathology or whatever is he creates himself to be a victim. He creates, someone else to be the bad guy and it justifies his actions. And so like the more and more he's getting frustrated with Kate for her not seeing him. I just thought that was so fascinating because it's like this is how people be cheating. This is how men be cheating. They
Yeah.
see somebody and they're like, oh, they develop all these reasons why this person who they're with is such a bad guy and such a who whatever, and they justify the fact that this new person is they see them with rose colored glasses, and it's like you're seeing this one person at the best you'll ever see them. Just know
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
and you're seeing this other person at the worst, or all their worst. You know what I mean? And so I thought that was a very interesting dynamic. I was like, look,
Yeah, that's
you
a
just she done
great
pulled your
point.
whole life out of the gutter, but you
Yeah.
still sitting here talking about what she don't do. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yep.
why some people you can't please.
Yeah, some
She done
people
pulled your
you
whole life out
cannot
of the gutter,
please. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whole
But
life.
Bronte, she mentioned that. She said that's a lot. Like, I don't want to be responsible for your happiness, right? Which often
Mm,
happens in these dynamics where a
mm-hmm.
man or whoever is cheating feels like they can find that in somebody else instead of
Yeah,
working through something. If you the type of person who you don't want to go out all the time and then all of a sudden this new person got you ready to go out and do all these fun things and now
mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, well, maybe it just was my ex or the last person I was with. No, baby, you're going to go back to those same ways. You're going to go back. This
Mm-hmm.
right here is the romantic phase. Like,
Yes,
everything
yeah.
feels new. Like you said, rose colored glasses. And so that is exactly what is experiencing with Bronte, which to his detriment, he ain't realizing the rose-colored glasses make you blind, baby. You
I
you
know,
not even
right?
seeing what's happening. At least
Right.
Kate is confronting you and saying, "I have an issue with
Yeah.
these things. We need to get
Yes.
you help and work through them. I'm not willing
Yes.
to leave you. I still want to be by your side, but we just can't operate like this."
Right. Right. Like
Damn
absolutely
shame. Hmm.
interesting. It is. It
Y'all gotta
is.
do better out here, child, because Joe eating y'all up.
Yeah. One of the things I really did enjoy though is like Teddy talking about like it's gonna be different for me than it is for you, but like it's
Hmm.
not the same. It's not the same. And just from him being a black person in this space, like it's going to be 10 times harder. They're going to come at him 10 times harder and draw the inference, whether people deny it or not, that he was involved. That's why he's got this board seat. And then on top of that, he brought out this understanding of complicity. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's at this point, like, if he doesn't say anything, he is complicit in this continuing cover up. He's an
Mhm.
accessory after the fact.
Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
it's like, yeah, we're getting into this space where, depending on what he does, but we're getting to this space where he's got some skin in the game now, and it wouldn't be selfish or wrong for him to turn them into the authorities. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And then we have Henry finding the knife that Kate had in their bed. I'm not sure why it wasn't under the mattress. I'm not sure why it's just in the bed like anybody stretching, waking up can find, but
Right.
whatever.
Back to nature versus nurture because what is going on here? Like.
Yeah. But they have this little tense moment where Joe confronts her about it and like dares her to use it on him. She kind of puts it to his chest, or he puts it to her chest, but then she doesn't. She just walks away. But before she walks away, she had confronted him about the affair with Bronte because she found out about that and her suspicions about the other murders. And so he takes this as more of like, look at you. Don't even love me. Don't even care about me. Don't see me. And he's just kind of like storming off. And then the last bit of their connection that we see is she asks for, or doesn't even ask, states that they're getting a divorce.
And yeah, I was right there with her. Divorce his ass because he ain't listening and it ain't working.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened after that though was because she found out about Maddie and Reagan, she
Hmm.
also told Teddy about that as well.
Oh,
That was like
yeah.
the next little bit of information that she gathered, and they all were talking. And so it kind of just ends there with what is Kate gonna do, what is Teddy gonna do,
Hmm.
and what is
Hmm.
Maddie gonna do from there.
Hmm.
So yeah. So any other thoughts about Kate and her development through this storyline?
No, when there was a point where he did say, like, you used me and then
Yeah.
you like recoil at me. And I think two things can be true. I think it is true that there is a level of like he was her monster, and but I think that, so I think she is complicit in like his actions, but I also think that at the same time what she's saying is accurate. She's not trying to be like, you're this horrible person. She's trying to say, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live a life that way. And
Yeah.
he's internalizing it as like, you're saying that I am XYZ, and she's just
Right.
saying I don't want to live like that anymore. And so yeah, she is complicit, but people can change their mind. They can decide like, I used to do this with you, I don't want to anymore. And
Right.
so it doesn't mean that they're making a character judgment on you. Is
It's
a
okay
not
though.
okay
People
thing to do.
Yeah, people need
It's
to
like,
be okay with understanding that your character and my character don't align, and those are important
yeah.
things to align on because that is how you choose to raise kids. That's how
Hmm.
you choose. You know what I'm saying? Like all these how
Yeah.
you go about finances, extended
Hmm.
family, like all these things go into your character and how you choose to do things, and we see it even in that, like with
Yeah.
Henry. Um so she's not wrong.
Yeah, and then the other thing I thought about though, that from this dynamic, was she said something about like to Teddy, like she wanted to try to get custody of Henry, and I'm like, hold up
Yeah.
now, girl.
Yeah, yeah,
Now that's
yeah,
an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
thing because it's like you
Yeah.
not even the child's mom for
Mom,
real. Now,
right.
if she did get adopted, I mean, if she did legally adopt the child, then like she can do that. They
Yeah,
can
which I
figure
think
out
she probably
custody
did.
arrangement. You think, yeah,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, they can
Yeah.
fit. They have equal rights at that point, basically, because they're
Right.
both mom and dad. But if you're like, but morally, it's kind of also a thing that's like, you're gonna take the child from his actual father. But the way Joe out here in these streets, and I guess we can shift over to Bronte, the way he out
Yeah.
here in these streets, like
He acting like he ain't got
acting
nothing
like
to lose.
he acting like a weekend dad anyway, in some
Yes.
regards, or like, cause it's like when he going out here to go do his killing, he's perfectly fine with Kate watching Henry. When he's out here with Bronte, perfectly fine with Kate being at home watching him. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like, who else is
Yeah.
out there? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I ain't seen a
Well,
nanny
there was
yet.
a statement when she said, "It's nice to see you home for dinner."
Mm. Look
Kate
at
did
us.
say that, so you ain't been home anyway. He's talking about now. I'm finna go put him in, tuck him into bed and read him a bedtime story.
Yeah,
Showing up when
yeah,
you want to,
yeah.
but you
It's
waking
like
up with Bronte in the apartment
right,
that you gave her,
right. This Kate
funding
gave
her
her Kate's
life.
money.
Right, right,
Kate's
right.
money.
Kate gave it.
Okay,
Yes, Kate's
let's get it
money. Right,
straight.
right. Getting massages.
Kate, Kate paying for that. Kate.
Kate.
So I'm just like, yeah, yeah. So I like the trajectory of where their story is going. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, anything
Alrighty,
you
so
have
let's get
before we
into.
switch over? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
You go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say let's go ahead and get into Joe and Bronte. And before we
Mhm.
do, I just want to say Bronte is annoying. I think I realized this season that it's the way that these episodes, these seasons have been written is like we end up somehow not liking the girl, right? Or like finding something off
Mhm.
with the girl because either she just
Mhm.
like won't comply or like she's digging too much into Joe. Like
Mhm.
there was a
Mhm.
way to kind of not like we loved Beck and we didn't like Beck, right? Like we loved
Mhm.
Quinn and we didn't love Quinn. We
Mhm.
were like trying to root for Candace, but we couldn't at the same time.
Mhm.
Right? Like it's
Mhm.
always this like tug and pull. I think the only
Mhm.
girl in all of these storylines that you were like fully like rooting for might be Marianne for me at least. Where
Well,
there
yeah,
wasn't like
Marianne. I was rooting for Beck though too. Like.
really, because she,
Yeah.
it's like she had so many red flags she kept ignoring, and it was like, girl,
Yeah,
come
I
on.
know, but I still was like, girl, just
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah,
them,
yeah, yeah,
But it was kind of, I get what you're saying. Like, there's a little frustration with the character,
yeah,
and that's something that maybe you didn't see as much with Marianne as you saw with some of the other folks.
yeah, 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 yeah. Alrighty. So again, back at the top of episode 3, we're gonna go through Joe and Bronte's story through episode 3, 4, and 5. Bronte, she starts full on flirting with Joe. At first, it was like we don't know. We wasn't
Mhm.
100% sure, but she starts doing this whole like in the book, the little lip tuck pull behind the ear, lip grab me closer. So
Yeah,
I think that was
yeah.
the first instance where it was like, okay, no, she is full on flirting. She's being
Mhm.
inappropriate with this
Mhm.
married man. And of course,
Mhm.
as soon as Joe sees any type of interest towards him, he immediately finds reasons to fall for a woman.
Mhm.
Um, and through the progression of what trying to clean up the bookstore and get it ready to open, and buy new books, she goes to this event. Joe goes along with her, and we're introduced to Clay, who is like the bad ex-boyfriend, who embarrasses Bronte at this little writers event. So I guess we
Mhm.
could kind of like pause there.
Mhm.
Well, actually, no. At the event, after Clay embarrasses Bronte, that's when we found out that Bronte's real name is Louise,
Mhm.
and so we can
Mhm.
kind of pause there. Any thoughts
Yeah,
about the progression leading into that?
like Clay says, like she stole money from me. So it's like they're
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
or she stole something. I don't know if it was money, but
Yeah, it was
it's
money.
we start to see that there's something like up with her, and it's like it throws my alarm sounds again with her when with this
Yeah.
scenario, but then because she's embarrassed and it's sad, you start to feel for her. I start to feel for her because I'm like,
Mhm.
that's unfortunate. This guy is being a jerk. And so it's like I get suspicious of her, then I'm disarmed. Get suspicious, then I'm disarmed with her. And but yeah, the flirting, I was like, girl, I was coming to your aid in the first recap episode 1 and 2.
Yes.
I was coming to your aid. I was like, this girl is not out here flirting. He's seeing things. I don't think she was flirting though, to be honest. Like, I still stand by the beginning like in the beginning. It didn't give me flirt, but the lip bite, all that scenario acted out, like you said, completely inappropriate. And for sure, she was flirting. And I think she kept going to start and stop. I'm not going to be your trope, but
Right.
like she was doing this lean in, pull out, lean in, pull out, like a true romance novel. Like what
Right.
like she's talking about these romance novels, and it's like she's doing that's what they do. They set this tension like we can, and she just builds that up in him and he just falls for it.
Yeah,
Hook,
hard,
line, and
hard, hard,
sinker.
hard. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so then Joe, he looks into who Luis is, since that's her real
Hmm.
name. Finds out
Hmm.
that her mom is dead and she essentially has no one. And so I think that allows Joe to gain more empathy for her. And also he's like going back and forth between whether or not he needs to be defensive towards Bronte, or if he can let his defenses down.
Hmm.
And so I think after seeing that, even though he sees that she read what's her name, Beck's book, he like
Hmm.
grew no. I thought that was suspicious. He grew no further
Hmm.
suspicion, right?
Hmm.
Um, and he, what did he do? He like said some type of line to her from
The book,
Beck's
yeah.
book. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I thought like, okay, you see that she says she's like a super fan of Beck and like
Hmm.
enjoyed her earlier writings, right?
Hmm.
Like who had access to her earlier writings?
Hmm.
She's at the
Oh,
bookstore.
you
She's
think that she knows back?
Yes, yes. She's
Mm,
sneaking into the bookstore
interesting.
that she worked at, and all of a sudden she's getting tangled into this thing with
Hmm.
Joe. So from there, I started to feel I literally wrote in my notes like, does she know Beck? Because
Mm.
you're referencing her early work and being a fan of her early work.
I
You,
mean, I she did say. Well, I thought she said that she said her early work, or did she say her when she was younger, like when Bronte herself was younger? But I remember thinking about whatever she said. She did reference something that was in time, like in the past, and I was
yes,
thinking to myself, like when she said it, I was like, why would she be that much younger? This happened like maybe 5 years ago, and she doesn't look like she's like if I would guess her age, I would guess she's like 27, 28, 29, somewhere in that range. And she
yeah,
could be older, to be honest. But I wouldn't guess that she was like just 5 years ago calling herself her younger self, you know?
right,
Like
right, right,
that's what I
right.
thought I heard. But either way,
Yeah,
I see your things. I still just think they're citizen like detectives out here in these streets. Like
really,
I that's what I think. I think they're just like
yeah,
people, people there's like a whole internet side of the internet where people would be trying to solve cold case file. You know what I mean? Like I think that's
yeah,
who these people are. They are people trying to solve cold case stuff or suspicions, and they're trying to get evidence and da 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 da. But who knows? They could be part of like Beck's like friends that weren't in that high society circle, and like maybe
yeah.
she had some real writing friends before any of that went down, and Joe just caught her in a time period where she was getting swept up by Peach and them, and
Yeah.
really was neglecting like her other friends.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. We gonna see, child. Cause I
I
was
know,
like,
right? We'll see.
um, and so then the grand opening of the bookstore happens. Clay shows
Mhm.
up, and so Joe once again is confronted with this idea of protecting Bronte, and sees how aggressive Clay is towards Bronte. Um,
Mhm.
in this altercation, Bronte again tells Joe, I'm not yours to save. You can't be coming to
Mhm.
my rescue. You have a whole family at home, a child and a wife. And that's when he reveals
Mhm.
we're actually getting a divorce so we can
Mhm.
really do this thing. And so,
Mhm.
um, they really start forming a relationship, and he's
Yeah.
doing all of these nice things for her. I think it was what, a massage. He bought her
Well, that
groceries.
happened, yeah, in the beginning of the I think 3 or 4. But either way, like, yeah, they
Yeah.
full out start having an affair. Like,
Right, 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 right.
oh no, no, maybe it
Yeah.
didn't happen in the beginning. Maybe it happened in episode 5. I'm
Yeah, I think it was
discombobulated, but
after
we
that.
know it
But either
happened.
way, yeah, right, right.
It happened. It happened. Inappropriate stuff,
I-
and
yes, yes.
yeah,
And so then Bronte comes up with this idea of, I don't know if she came up with the idea, but she's through her writing.
yes.
Joe is like, oh, is this something you want to try? Do you fully trust me to just have all of you with this little
Mhm.
kink sex fantasy? Uh,
And pause right there because like we're like now that we know what we know at the towards
right.
the end of the episode, I'm wondering if like when she like stops things and all this other stuff, if that's like her fear, like, oh my God, girl,
Yeah.
like is he about to
Yeah, cuz
kill
she
me?
was like
Like,
it's too real. She said it felt
yeah,
too real.
yeah. I'm just surprised that she in any way is allowing this man to like, have sex with her. Let's just start there. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All for the in my view, it seems like it's citizen's arrest. But like they're trying to be citizen detectives.
Now,
But
whether it's
even if
because
she's
she a
her
friend of
friend,
Beck or it's a citizen's arrest, it's
it's still a
weird as
lot.
hell.
Yeah,
It's
it's still a
weird.
lot.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to me was very interesting. And then the Clay, the boyfriend, his whole scenario and dynamic with it all, it's like, Joe, you don't think with your logical brain, you think with this murderous brain because if there is an issue and someone is showing up, there's a courthouse. There's this person is stalking me. You get what I'm saying? This person is harassing me. Like, go file some charges. Like,
Yes.
literally, there's a way to handle these things. And it's not like Clay was, it just felt like he was a little bold. And I was thinking, I was like, he's such an a-hole. He's such an a-hole. He's such an a-hole. But he kept just trying to handle it with his might and like, you gotta leave
Yeah.
or you know, or fight him. And it's just like, if you don't call the authorities in here, like this is you're trespassing. You got 5 seconds to leave. All right. Or the
Right.
police will be called. You get what I'm saying? Like, why do we work smarter, not harder?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
But even through that, I wasn't really understanding. So we get to the point where Bronte calls Joe from the restaurant phone when they go off to Atlantic
mm,
Beach.
mm-hmm.
And so, of course, Joe
But she
shows up.
disappears. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
right,
said
because
that
she
part.
disappeared. Yeah, yeah. So she quits, she disappears by leaving
Change
a
her
note.
number and all
Yeah,
this other
after
stuff.
the whole kink sex stop scene. She calls Joe from the restaurant phone and is acting all, suspicious or like she could possibly be in danger. It's just like, we can't do this
Mm-hmm.
once again. And so
Mm-hmm.
Joe follows her and he breaks into the apartment house or whatever. They end up having sex. Then all of a sudden Clay shows up and is like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? Da, 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 da. He's aggressive once again. Joe steps in. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And why in this moment did you feel the need? What he does is kills this man. I'm not sure if it was worth all of that. Like, did we have to immediately go there? And what
Mm-hmm.
I truly did not understand, especially from Bronte's end, because it ends with the extra friend coming in with the phone on live and recording the fact that Joe just killed Clay. Why
Mm-hmm.
the hell would you allow Joe to kill Clay? If this was a
Yeah.
whole setup, y'all just sacrificed a friend.
Yeah.
It
No.
made no sense to me. And
Yeah.
Bronte looked at Joe right before Joe did it. Like, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was very suggestive of,
Well, that's that Joe mind, girl, because she ain't say do it with her look. Joe would have said something like that. She
it
ain't
was
say do
given,
it.
I felt like it because she didn't say stop. She just was looking like stuck. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
she
Like,
looked shocked. I think she looked shocked. But my thing is like on your point about why they letting their sacrificing their friend. It's like yeah, they could. She had a taser, bruh. You could have been like Joe, stop! I have my taser. I'm gonna tase him or whatever. Like
right.
to just alleviate the what was happening there, or she could have just been like gone into full. We're in this new mode and tased Joe to get him off her friend's back. Like
Yes.
it's like you pulled that taser out a little too late. And I said this in the group chat. Shout out to the group chat. Y'all need to join the group chat or whatever.
Oh,
But I
yes.
was like, first of all, why y'all there with just a taser anyway? Like y'all here with a murderer. Y'all need a gun. You need a gun. You need a gun.
Right,
Like
and
you
the
need a
friend
gun
talking about, so we got him, Bronte. I'm like, what the hell? It made absolutely no sense to me.
at
I
all.
truly feel like Bronte still wanted or didn't care. I don't know, y'all. 'Cause I could not believe the look. I feel like it was a very suggestive look. So
You,
when I saw that and Bronte did not intervene with the friend coming in saying I got him, I'm like,
I
huh?
think she was I think she was shocked, but also it's like, you know, this plan was a horrible plan. It just was a horrible plan. But I think she was shocked. I don't think that she was I think she was shocked though. I have no
You
clue
think
what their
so?
plan was. Yeah, I mean, I do.
Uh,
You think she wanted him to kill her friend? Because apparently
I
they're
don't
all
think
in
it
this
was like
together.
an immediate want, but I think it was like a go ahead. I don't know if it was like a go ahead and do it for the plot. Like I could not understand why somebody, if you see somebody breaking into your house and you're willing to
Uh-huh.
tase them, why you would
Yeah,
sit there and watch someone be strangled?
yeah, yeah.
You
No,
just
and
sitting on the floor watching your friend get strangled or watching your man strangle this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever
yeah,
way you want to flip it, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, you were bold enough to shock him when he
yeah,
broke in. So I don't see why you wouldn't be bold enough, especially when you're somebody who
yeah,
seems like, you breaking into stores and all this stuff. Like, you seem like you got to have a little bit of street smarts. Why the hell you
yeah.
watching
Kill
your friend
him.
get killed?
No, I agree. And I also felt though if this was their setup to like have him like cuz yeah, like what was their setup? What was their plan? Because like you don't have any proof of anything until he kills him. You get what I'm saying? And
Right.
so did y'all really set him up to be killed? You get what I'm saying? The friend to be killed? And if you did, like y'all complicit in this whole situation. That's one.
Right.
But then two, if you didn't, what was going to be your big proof? You get what I'm saying? What was the big proof that you were going to have to be ready on live for? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
what would be the big proof? And third, it feels like this situation could very arguably be a self-defense situation for Joe.
Yes.
Just to be honest, he looks crazy and stuff like that, but the guy did break in, they were fighting, and it could be like I can't remember. I guess we got to watch it back to see did the friend catch him do the headbutt or not, because it could have been like a self-defense thing, especially if that headbutt not was not caught on camera, because then it's
Yeah.
this thing of like, it's
Well,
he
Clay
gets to
also he
keep the
threw the
picture.
first punch.
Who, Joe
Clay
or the
did.
guy? Okay,
Clay did.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just very interesting. But they know how to drop us off on a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like first we didn't know
Yeah.
when to stop the episodes to do the recap, and but I watched to episode 5. I said, Victoria, yeah, we gotta cover, we gotta throw 5 up in
Yeah.
there.
I'm glad you
Yeah,
did. I'm glad you did because that
yeah,
last one was a banger. I said, "Oh goodness."
yes.
Actually, let me read y'all our text messages as I was
Oh yeah,
ending
yeah,
watching
yeah.
5. Oh goodness.
Yeah, what was it?
Okay. Yeah. Here it goes.
Where? Well, you text
I
first.
said,
You was like,
"Lord, I just finished 5," and you said
I
I
knew
knew
Bronte
Bronte
ass
was
was too
too.
easy. Yeah, that was
Yes,
my
yeah. I
first
said,
thought.
hell yeah. I have in my notes for every episode. Bronte seems fishy. These must be Beck's friends. You said,
And
I
then I was
think
like,
they're just citizen
yeah.
detectives out this bitch.
Yes. Um,
Oh
yeah, I was like, I
god.
think they literally just tried to put two and two together. But maybe they have a deeper connection that would make sense. But you said, I'm just like, how she know how to make him fall so easy? So yeah, they probably did study him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was like,
Child.
and he out here thinking he's solving problems, but the whole time, he is the problem, bringing problems, brought the biggest problem
Right.
they about to have to the doorstep, right now. So, and I was like, I wonder what Teddy's about to do. I still do wonder what he's going to
Yes.
do, because he would be justified in going to police, or I could see him not for Kate's sake, because if he
Yeah.
goes to the police, he brings Kate down too, you know?
Right. And Kate
But
is his
yeah.
security.
hmm But yeah, we'll see what happens. So, do you have
Yeah.
anything else you want to discuss on this episode? I feel like we got all the meat off the bones.
No, interested to see how Kate continues her detective work. I will
hmm
say this is one thing I did forget to say was it's interesting how when women find out about Joe, that they don't immediately ever go to the police. It's always
mm
like this. He always gets away with it. We have to
hmm
figure this
Do our
out
own thing.
somehow,
Yeah.
right? Or because they are looped in some way, they can't.
hmm
Beck, she couldn't because she just got trapped right away.
Yeah, she was the first to
Quinn,
discover.
she was wrapped up in all the BS, so she couldn't do nothing.
hmm
Marianne, when she got found out by the student,
hmm
she was like,
Well,
"No, we can't go straight to the authorities. We have to plan this out because he will get away with it."
And on top of that, I think with Marianne, it's like her daughter's custody is wrapped all up in there. It's almost like with Teddy, it's like
Yes.
I benefited from his actions, and like so it's got to be airtight that this can't blow back on me. I mean,
Right.
I don't think that was stated, but that makes sense,
Right.
for
Yeah.
someone to have
Yeah.
that kind of hesitation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I think that
Um,
is it. Stay tuned for our recap of six and the other episodes that we decide to recap along with it. If you aren't already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay tuned to all of the recaps. Don't forget, we already have a recap of episodes 1 and 2 out and a
mhm.
recap of seasons 1 through 4. So check those out. And if you would like to join our group chat, DM us on Instagram at Black Girls Talking TV. So
All
until the
right.
next episode, bye.
Bye.